First of all, I would like to say that Save Mattamuskeet Lake tonight is going to address one of many subjects that relates to the health of Mattamuskeet Lake. Tonight's topic, we're doing that, let me back up and explain. This whole concept has many levels and many veins to it. It's very difficult in an evening or even in several evenings to get your arms around all the issues that are faced here. And so tonight we've chosen the issue of freshwater fish, their demise, and we have presenters that will be talking on that topic. The first person, unfortunately, who can't be with us anymore that I would like to recognize tonight is our County Commissioner, Anson Byrd, who recently passed away. Commissioner Byrd was a fervent outdoorsman, a friend, and he always stood solidly behind the natural resources and the people of Hyde County, and we will sorely miss Anson Byrd. Save Mattamuskeet Lake is dedicated or indebted rather to Mr. Fred Liverman, who's here with us tonight, Mr. Sidney Britt, who could not be with us, Mr. Gordon Floyd, who is with us, and Mr. Vance Forbes, and many, many others who've stepped forward, financially and otherwise, to assist Save Mattamuskeet Lake. It may interest you to know that Save Mattamuskeet Lake is not what you may term as an organization, in the sense that we don't have a chairman, we don't have a president. Ray White, we don't even have a bank account. What it is rather is a coalition of concerned citizens of Hyde County and concerned outdoorsmen, bird watchers, environmentalists, conservationists from throughout North Carolina. None of us would be here tonight. The resources the lake has blessed us all with would be forgotten. The hope of a vibrant and progressive Hyde County would have been lost were it not for the lonely, decade-long struggle by Mark and Lisa Carrollman. This couple has refused to sit idly by and watch the lake be squandered away. We all need to admire their tenacity, their dedication, and their love for Mattamuskeet Lake, all its marvelous resources, and the people of Hyde County. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me, Mark and Lisa Carrollman. We have a bunch of dignitaries here and people that we're just so proud and pleased to have with us tonight. I would like to start by recognizing these individuals. First, ladies and gentlemen, the chairman of the Hyde County Board of Commissioners, our chairman Barry Swindell, is here. Our county manager, an old friend that I go back longer than either one of us like to remember, Mr. Bill Rich. Our sheriff of Hyde County, Sheriff David Mason. Chief Deputy Sheriff Wire Cahoon. Our Registers of Deeds, Marita Lewis Spencer. Great to have you, Marita. Good to see you again. We are pleased as well to have from Dare County, our sister county, the chairman of the Dare County Board of Commissioners, Mr. Warren Judge. I believe Betty Jo Shepherd, who is Senator Aaron Burr's representative, is here tonight. Yes, there you are. Thank you. Thank you so much. Our state representative, representing this district, Representative Paul Time. From the North Carolina Sportsman Caucus, Mr. Scott Griffin. Scott, where are you? There's Scott. Thank you. North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commissioner Richard Edwards. North Carolina Wildlife Commissioner John Coley. John's here. Mr. Ray White, former 1st District Wildlife Commissioner. Ray, thank you. Former Senator Stan White, who has represented our district in the North Carolina General Assembly and is running for re-election. Stan White. Candidate for the Republican nomination for the United States Congress, Taylor Griffin. The Assistant Director of the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission, Mallory Martin. Mr. Robert Wayne of the Enforcement Division of the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission. Robert. Also, this afternoon we had 2 other wildlife commissioners with us that couldn't be here tonight. Commissioner Tim Spear and our new commissioner for the 1st District, Brian White. No kin to Stan and Ray. As I mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are talking about one of the number of issues that regards the health of Mattamuskeet Lake, which we all are concerned with. Tonight, we have a speaker who has spent many, many years motoring across, walking across, and whatever, Mattamuskeet Lake, Chief Fishery Biologist for the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission. Please welcome Chad Thomas.
Thank you very much. I've had the privilege of working in Hyde County with the Wildlife Resources Commission for the last 20 years. If my accent isn't familiar, it's because I was raised in Harnett County in the tobacco fields over there, so don't let that throw you. But I love Hyde County, I love Lake Mattamuskeet, and what I'd like to do this evening is just tell you a little bit about the partnerships that we have with the refuge staff, talk to you a little bit about some of the trends in our fisheries data. Get that pulled. Yes, please. Most of you in here have fished Lake Mattamuskeet. What a tremendous place to come. 40,000 acre natural lake. Been here for a long time, probably 15,000 years. Very, very important to Hyde County. And the Wildlife Resources Commission, although we don't have regulatory authority on a lot of the issues at the lake, the National Wildlife Refuge staff have that privilege. We do set regulations on the lake, and our staff kind of look at ourselves as advisors to the refuge staff when it comes to fisheries. So what I would like to share with you is that all the information that I'm sharing with you tonight, all the boats that you see, all the people that you see, are funded through a very special program called Sport Fish Restoration. This is a federal program by which we're able to cost share some of our fishing license monies with the sales taxes and sale of outboard motors, boats, and terminal tackle. So as we're going through this and you're wondering where this money comes from, if you fish the lake, this money came from you, so thank you very much for helping us out with that. We have a lot of different sampling locations inside the lake, and I see just outside the door, just putting food in his mouth, is Mr. Jeremy McCargo. Jeremy is our district fisheries biologist. Raise your hand, Jeremy, back there so I can see you. Didn't mean to catch you off guard. A lot of the data that I'm going to show you tonight, Jeremy and his staff have collected, our staff have collected, and I will let you know that we'll be around after the meeting tonight if you have any follow-up questions that you may want to ask us. We like to sample the lake. We sample the lake with a special gear that we call electrofishing. Some of you may have seen this sampling technique. It's pretty unique in that we put out 1,000 volts of direct current into the water. The fish have no choice but to come visit us when we do this. They're actually drawn into the field kind of like a tractor beam, and as they get closer to the boat, we're able to put them in aerated live wells and get information from those fish. Now, what's best about this method is that it's non-lethal, so it doesn't kill the fish, just temporarily stuns them. So it's really a good way to see what's going on with the population and then quickly return the fish to the water. When we're out on the water, what are we looking for? Well, we're looking at what fish species are there in the lake. Those fish species that are present, what are their sizes? Are they large? Are they small? How old are the fish? How abundant are the fish? And what kind of condition are they in? Are they plump? Are they skinny? Are they fat? What do they look like? And we take all this information and try to make regulation changes that make the fishery better, that make the fishermen a little more pleased with their experience on the lake. Our focus with the Wildlife Resources Commission on the lake, and it has been for many decades, is on largemouth bass fishery. We spent time on the lake this past fall sampling the population, and we spent most of our time in the canals that are connected to the lake. Most of you are familiar with the canal systems. The canal systems are deeper, obviously, than the main part of the lake. That deep water provides special habitat for the fish when it's cold. I think today the water temperature is about 2 degrees. And in the summertime, when sometimes the water temperatures can exceed 95 degrees. So it's a very tough environment for a fish when anytime there's shallow water. So these canals provide a lot of good refugia for bass. The situation with the lake right now is that there are very good largemouth bass populations in the canal system. We've seen this for the last several years. This graph has the sizes that we found of almost 200 bass this past fall, and our regulation is right at 14 inches. And what we noticed in the canal systems is that there are a lot of fish that are over 14 inches. We actually collected some fish as large as 21 inches in the canals, and the most frequent group of fish that we saw were almost 15 inches. So there's a lot of good fish in the canals. We also see a size structure that tells us that there are many age classes in the canal system. We have young a year fish, all the way up to 5 and 6 and 7-year-old fish. One thing that's really cool about Lake Mattamuskeet is that these fish grow very fast. So it takes about 3 years for a largemouth bass to get to 14 inches. It's very good growth. So when you have those bass, there appears to be adequate forage in the lake to supplement their growth and to get them very quickly to a harvestable size and sometimes a trophy size. One of the things that we're always looking at when we're sampling is how many bass are there. And the way that we look at that is through something we call catch per unit effort, which is pretty simply, if you ride with us on the electrofishing boat, or as we call it, the shocking boat, if you're riding with us on the shocking boat, if we were to sample for an hour at a time, how many bass that are over 8 inches would we catch in that hour? So we call that our catch per unit effort. That's a relative abundance estimate. That doesn't mean that we got them all. We're going to miss plenty of them. It's just an index that we use. Lots of information. You probably can't see this, so don't worry about it. But what I will tell you is that in some years we have enough water in the lake. There's enough water in the lake for us to sample the lake, and we're able to define that population characteristics in the lake. A lot of years, if we've had very low water, drought conditions, for instance, we have to stay in the canals. So what we've noticed is that in the population, and some of you may kind of cue into this, in 2001, 2002, we had some pretty severe drought in the area, 2002 in particular. We had a lot of fish kills in 2002. Some of you may remember seeing dead bass in some of the tournaments that were held that were dying. The water was very hot and it was very low. So really for about the last 10 years, the lake has been trending a little bit lower in levels than we've seen in the past. But there are sometimes where we have seen more water in the lake. In 2003, the Commission did start a stocking program for largemouth bass. We stocked for 5 years in a row. It was over 100,000 fish. These fish were raised at a hatchery near Wilmington, in a Wildlife Commission hatchery in Pender County. And we've been watching the population ever since. Is it trending up? Is it trending down? What we noticed this past fall when Jeremy, back there, he's still eating Jeremy? He's still what Jeremy saw this fall was he was limited in his ability to access the main lake. The water levels were down. But in the canals themselves, there was a tremendous amount of largemouth bass, very high numbers of bass, and I showed you what those size distributions look like. So that's always promising. It's always promising when you have good numbers of fish in the canals. Black crappie is another very popular sport fish. These fish will move into the canals in the fall. We collected almost 500 crappie this past fall through electrofishing and through setting trap nets in the canals. What we also do is we'll collect a subsample of these fish. We remove a tiny bone out of their head, and that bone in their head will tell us how old they are. Actually, we read it. They don't really tell us at that point, but we are able to use that information to see how many age classes are in the population. So what we notice with the black crappie, similar to the bass, is that there are some very large fish in the canals. We had crappie up to 13 inches in those canals. So very thriving population of fishes in the canal system. This table that I'm showing you has an example of the other fishes that we found in there. Again, there's a very diverse species community in the lake, such as American eel, white perch. There are alewife herring in the lake. We also see different types of catfish, gar, mullet, and we also see a contingent of estuarine species that do make their way into the lake at certain times and seasons, spot croaker, and we also noticed there were this might be new to some of you, a lot of flounder in the canals. Not just flounders, but large flounder. Flounder up to 23 inches actually found in the canals this past year. Most of these were in Main Canal. So to summarize what we saw in 2013, we weren't able to access the main part of the lake due to the low water, but the fish that we were able to collect, and we collected a bunch of them in the canals, were very healthy. They were in very good condition, and the sunfish that were there, and I'll show you a graph here, or talk a little bit about that. Sunfish are pretty much the predominant forage fish for a largemouth bass. Works really well in an impoundment like this. And what is critical, though, for largemouth bass and crappie is to have good water quality. That's something that we've been working very closely with the refuge, especially over the last several years, to try to reduce the inputs of salinity. As the salt water goes into the lake, if it goes beyond certain thresholds, then we lose potentially have a weaker year class of largemouth bass or crappie or some of these other species. So there have been some very positive gains over the last several years that the refuge staff has put in place in regards to trying to reduce some of the water control structures, make sure that there's as little leakage as possible. That's something that they're continuing to monitor. Salinity, very important. Water quality obviously is an issue in the lake. Again, something that the refuge is looking closely at. And if we have good spawns, what we see in the lake is that these fish, again, grow very well. There appear to be plenty of forage species for them to eat as they're there. So the Wildlife Resources Commission, what our plans are for the lake this year is we'll continue to monitor the largemouth bass population. We'll do that in the spring with our electrofishing gear. We'll then also sample this fall, looking at the crappie population. This year we're doing something that's unique that has not been done on the lake, and we're excited about this opportunity. We're going to be conducting a 9-month angler interview study on the lake, where we will go 40 hours a week, randomly selected different days, and we'll run a route around the entire lake in each one of those sample days. And we'll be interviewing you if you're a fisherman on the lake. We'll be asking you, what did you catch? What did you keep? What did you throw back? What were you fishing with? What county are you from? Trying to get some good information about angler preferences and about angler harvest patterns. And we'll be able to use this information and dovetail it into our regular sampling and come up with a better picture about what it is that you're seeing if you fish the lake. So something that we'll be able to work again in conjunction with the refuge staff to set this up. We have already secured funding to do that this year, so we're really excited about that. And perhaps in a year or so we can convene this group and tell you, what species you prefer. What was the most popular fish or crustacea, as it may turn out, that was targeted this past year. So I have mentioned a couple times during the presentation the importance of partnerships. We're working very closely with the refuge staff on trying to come up with or to continue to develop management plans on the lake. Again, we've been working with them for decades now. Nothing's changed in that regard. We have a very good working relationship with the refuge staff. And what we're looking specifically at and have recommended to the refuge, and they've been working with us on that, is how can we reduce saltwater inputs into the lake, especially if we're concerned with reproduction. How can we work cooperatively to monitor and improve water quality in the lake? And how can we evaluate different lake management options in regards to lake levels? Are there opportunities to come up with different strategies and different scenarios by which we might increase water depths at certain times of the year, based on the priorities that are established. And what we're hopeful to do through this process, continuing to do, is to talk with you. What are your thoughts? What are your ideas about how the lake should be managed, and take that into consideration as we're trying to make decisions, as the refuge is really refining their plan. So I think really it boils down to, and I'll leave you with this, how can we identify opportunities to increase fisheries habitat in the lake? Now, I'm not a waterfowl specialist at all. I do like to hunt ducks, but I don't know anything about the lake and its waterfowl and how it's managed. But there's 40,000 acres of habitat out there. The question is there some more of that habitat that could be available to largemouth bass, or is where they are now suitable and as it needs to be? So we look forward this year in particular with working with the refuge staff. There are already some meetings that have been planned next month where our staff will be working with the refuge and other scientists to try to come up with specific issues that need to be addressed. What are the different priorities for each species, whether it's waterfowl, whether it's fisheries, whether it's farming, all this information together and come up with a good plan on how to not only manage waterfowl, which is key to the refuge, but also how to enhance the fisheries in the lake. So at this time, I'll thank you for your kind attention, and I'll turn the meeting back over to Mr. Hester.
Chad, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I messed up a while ago in not recognizing a very valuable group with us tonight from the United States Fish and Wildlife Service. I'd like to take the opportunity to recognize and show appreciation for them now. First, Stacy Armitage. Stacy, thank you so much. Our refuge manager, Mr. Pete Campbell. Bonnie Strasser, an old friend from Moberton Beach. And are you in Atlanta, Elizabeth? Elizabeth Salhaver, is that right? Did we Salhaver? Pretty good? From Atlanta. Welcome, thank you. Next tonight, I would like to introduce a young man who has and is doing an excellent job for the citizens of Hyde County to protect and save our resources here. Our enforcement officer for Hyde County to have a few words to say about lake water levels, Officer Robert Wayne.
As Mr. Hester said, as many as you know, my name's Robert Wayne. I began my career with the North Carolina Wildlife Resource Commission in 1997. I've been asked to speak tonight briefly on boating and fishing activities I've seen on Lake Mattamuskeet throughout my career. Since first moving here, I've spent many hours working in hand with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service officers patrolling the lake. During the 90s, I patrolled Mattamuskeet with an 18-foot tunnel hole john boat equipped with a 70 horsepower motor, and bass fishing on the lake was something that was special. While on patrol over the past several years, I have noticed a sharp decline in largemouth bass being caught on the lake and in boating activities as well. On a positive note, in recent years, I have witnessed bass fishing success in the refuge canals in the New Holland area, like Chad pointed out. As an officer, I value the strong relationships that I have with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, sportsmen, and community leaders, and I look forward to providing any assistance that I can offer to help partnership and working together to help solve some of these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Officer Wayne. Representative Paul Tyne, have a few words to say for us tonight?
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you having me here today, and for all the folks in the room. And this type of event is extremely important. If you didn't understand how important this issue is to the people of Hyde County, then you can just look around the room. This is the biggest event I've seen in Hyde County in quite a while. It is so important because we work for you. We have the same interests in mind in conservation and making sure that the fishing is sustainable, but you all know it and live it and are here all the time. And as a hunter and fisherman, I know that I care as much about my kids being able to fish and hunt in the future as you do out there in the audience. So the only thing that I'll say then is this is a complex issue that I invite you to reach out to me anytime that our folks here at the state aren't answering your questions or aren't responding. I think they're doing a great job right now. You could tell by their suggestions and the issues that they brought up that they're listening. But if you don't get an answer or you don't get the right answer, I want to hear about it, and we'll make sure that we continue to work on this problem. And I have a very good working relationship with Senator Burr's office and Senator Hagan's office. And if we need to involve our friends at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife in a manner that perhaps they're not, then let me know, and I'll be happy to bark over there at their offices too. So with that, I'm going to leave some cards up here at the front of the table. They all have my cell phone on it. If you've got a problem, give me a call. I want to hear about it.
Thank you, Paul. Ladies and gentlemen, one thing I failed to mention, we welcome you to have whatever questions you may have. We don't have time tonight to get into a question and answer regarding Chad's comments tonight, but please see Chad Thomas after the meeting. Contact any of us. We will put you in touch with Chad, take your questions to him, or whatever, if you have more information that you need. Mr. Chairman, this is Chairman Warren, Judge of the Dare County Board of Commissioners.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate that. And welcome and good evening. And thank you all for having me here tonight. Representative Tyne, thank you. Thank you for coming down and all you do for Hyde and for Dare County. Betty Jo Shepherd, please tell Senator Richard Burr we thank him every day for what he does for us in Washington. Mr. Chairman, it's a pleasure to stand before you in your county. Thank you for having me. Senator White, thank you for all you've done. You've served us all well over the years in Dare County. Stan was a county commissioner, he was a county chairman, served on the DOT board, served us in the Senate. We appreciate your service to all of us. I can't stand before you all tonight and tell you that I know all the ins and outs of Lake Mattamuskeet. I can't do that, but I tell you what I can tell you. In Dare County, we are threatened every day. On Hatteras Island, we don't know if we'll be able to get there tomorrow by car. We don't know if we can get out of the inlet by boat. We don't know if our commercial, recreational, and charter fishermen can go to work. We don't know if the simplest of medical needs and emergencies will be able to be transported by road or if we'll have to call a helicopter. And when we get to Hatteras Island, we can't use the beaches. We protect everything on Hatteras Island. We the people of these United States, protect everything on Hatteras Island but the people themselves. Hatteras Island is a fabric and culture of Dare County that can't be duplicated. And that's what I can tell you I know about Lake Mattamuskeet. I know how important it is to you. I know how important your heritage is, your history, generations of families growing up around and on the lake. people who've made their lives, who've made their livings, who've supported their family, generation after generation on the lake and because of the lake. The businesses around the lake, tourism, restaurants, motels, campgrounds, service industries. I understand that. I understand that well. You all are the experts. I know that. The people in this room, the hunters and the fishermen, you all are the experts. Don't ever stop sharing your expertise, sharing your ideas, and talking to the federal and state agencies that govern over us on these resources. They work for us. Make sure that Senators Burr and Hagan and Congressman Jones, Representative Tyne hear your voice all the time. Make sure of that. That's the best advice I can give you. Mr. Chairman, we stand ready to help in any way we can. We understand, again, not the particular ins and outs of the lake. I wouldn't insult you by telling you that. But I tell you, I feel your pain. I don't know how we've gone wrong in this great nation of ours that the small people, the everyday people, those, us, the people who get up every morning and go to work, who make the money and pay the taxes, I don't know how that we have been cut out of the equation sometimes, but we certainly have been. And it's time to stand united and stand together. For as many people that are in this room, Bob, there's probably that many ideas. But a good exchange of ideas is important. But remember, at the end of the day, come together as the people of Hyde County, the people that love that lake, work hard, make your voice be heard, and your vote be counted. Again, I'm always available to y'all. Hyde County is important to Dare County, and I hope we are to you all. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
As I mentioned earlier, Save Mattamuskeet, we don't have a board of directors or officers or even a bank account. But there's an individual here tonight that wants to change that, Mr. Fred Liveman. Fred, we appreciate all you have done to help and work with us. And so Fred has some comments for you. Thank you.
As Bob stated in the very beginning, I basically hear we're a group. We're not that organized. We want to be that organized. I bring you that point because I've seen within a month that we grow from a group of about 20 people concerned to what is it here, 170 people here, Mark? A large group. So my proposal to you this evening is let's think about organizing. Let's think about an association, whatever we call it. Save Mattamuskeet Lake Association. Maybe we can borrow ideas from Ducks Unlimited, or from the Turkey Federation, or from Delta Waterfowl, or wherever, and let's figure a way that this so important group here this evening can organize and make this thing go forward. My thought is we could get 2 groups of members in such an association. Maybe we do sponsors, again, like DU and the Turkey Federation does. And those folks could be landowners, duck impoundment owners, guides, hunting clubs, local businesses. We could also have another category of members called members, regular members. That could include duck hunting club members, could include fishermen, club guests, bird watchers, all kinds of enthusiastic people about this great lake. So again, that's our proposal. I want to be sure that you sign some sort of attendance record here tonight, and I think Lisa out front has that. We definitely need to get addresses, phone numbers, emails. But thank you for listening to a proposal that maybe we organize into an association. Save Mattamuskeet Association is one possible way. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, to wrap things up, I'll take time for just a few comments. First of all, we have a problem here. Don't undersell it. Don't forget it. Do not think it does not exist. Lake Mattamuskeet's water levels are having deleterious effects on the fish population. You heard Mr. Thomas. I think he was very kind in his comments in the sense that they can't even get on the refuge to take fish samples a large part of the time. I hope you saw his graph. We were talking about fish tonight, and so that's what we'll end it on, but we have problems. We need your continued support. This did not start 6 months ago. Since the channelization projects on the lake began in 2002, Mr. Carrowan, myself, Mr. Lieberman, others have been consciously talking to Fish and Wildlife Service people and gotten nowhere. They paid no attention to us. That's why this organization has been formed. We have seen dramatic changes in this refuge, which, for example, our fish population, now we're relegated, as Mr. Thomas told you, to 75 acres of channelized canal for our fish population. This is a 40,000 acre lake, and we've got a 75 acre meal pond to deal with. It needs to be addressed. I know very well that a lot of attention has been paid. I've heard some great ideas from great people with Fish and Wildlife and others. It's time to implement ideas. It is time to change this pattern. I'm very hopeful, and I'll tell you one reason why. Perhaps a month ago, a letter was sent by Congressman George Holding to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service regarding Mattamuskeet Lake. He received a reply that was forwarded, of course, to us from our regional director of the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, Cynthia Donor. Director Donor spoke of 5 things in her letter that she believed was the lake level goal for Mattamuskeet Lake. Number 1, waterfowl food production. Number 2, migratory fish movements. Number 3, motorized boat access. Number 4, fisheries management. And number 5, adjacent landowner drainage. We don't have a problem. We totally agree with Director Donor's thoughts. These are our priorities as well. We share her thoughts, we share her dreams and concerns. Her goals for this lake are our goals. All we ask is that these steps start today. These steps start to be taken so that we protect our farming community, which is the most important community we have in Hyde County. No one with Save Mattamuskeet Lake has ever stated that we care to have a lake level large enough and high enough that it negatively impacts our farming community or our residential areas. At the same time, we believe there is a reasonable water level to where we can have a reasonable fish population on 40,000 acres. That does not exist now and has not existed since the year 2004. We want to work. We want to follow Director Donor's pattern. We believe in her goals, and we hope we can make progress to get this problem solved and move forward for the well-being of the natural resources and the people of Hyde County and the great people who visit us here every year. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending. We appreciate it very much. Thank you.